you have any messages for the people that like to complain about that?
You can't say it about ours. It's just pink. Tribute to Coach Fry, that's his tradition, but I almost feel like we should maybe cut it in half and make it, reciprocate the favor, if you will.
Tell me what an offseason looks like for you now, quarter century into this job. What does that look like?
Very different. I think everybody knows college football has changed so much, but it really is kind of what keeps it interesting. And certainly we have some issues and things that we need to probably better address and provide a little bit more structure for. But one takeaway is it keeps you really engaged. There's always a new challenge, always a new thing to discuss and talk about and hopefully learn from. But all in all, I think we've had a good off season. I like the way we've addressed our roster and how we've gone about, just navigating through some of these changes. And so we're anxious to get on the field, see what we look like.
I think everybody is at this point of the year. I know everyone wants to talk about the offense. I get it. Sure. But the quarterback in particular, you've got Cade coming in. You've got a lot of talent coming in, if we're being honest. Certainly, you've got the 2 tight ends that should be fantastic. The wideouts, the 2 running backs coming back are also outstanding. But tell me a little bit about how Cade's kind of assimilated into the culture so far at Iowa.
Yeah, it's really kind of a strange thing in that, usually a quarterback transfer, I'm going back. In the past, sure. Guys usually came because they weren't playing. And no, it's true to a degree with Cade, but in this very same stadium, we faced him a year ago, December, and we came out on the short end. We were impressed watching him all season long. Crossover film, you see him, and his team was playing well. He was playing well. Got to witness it firsthand, and I think you get a little different appreciation for a player in person. So fast forward a year later when he was interested in coming, we were just really excited about that. We're thrilled to have him. And it's been really impressive to watch him. He's a good football player, but just the way he's earned the respect in short time of all of our guys. And the veteran guys really just, kind of gravitated toward him, and I think everybody has. So we're just thrilled he's with us.
What about the fact that Spencer is still there? How has that helped in the transition for Cade, just to be there and have someone who's gone through it? And also in the world of NIL and transfer portal and everything, for a guy to stay true and stay with the program has to be pretty impressive as well.
That's great. And Spencer's an unbelievable kid, just an unbelievable young man. And I thought he did a great job playing for us. We didn't help him enough at times, but did a lot of good things. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when we didn't have any experience at quarterback in our bowl preparation, Spencer was with Joe Labus, just in and out of the huddle every play, helping him along. And he's done the same thing with Cade. As soon as Cade got on campus, Spencer's really embraced that opportunity to help him. He's treating him like a teammate. Spencer will not be playing this year, but he's been a great teammate and a great supplement to the resources that Cade's got available.
No, that's awesome to hear. And again, that it's not common for a kid to do that these days. So it's really impressive. Is there any player that you look at that you say, that could be a breakout year for this guy? That this is a guy who could really burst on the scene and showcase what he's got in the Big Ten? Yeah,
I don't know about breakout, because he kind of broke out a little bit last year. Jim Lachey, or I said Jim. Luke, yeah. Just got done talking to Jim out there. Great to see him. But Luke is just each step of the way just gotten better and better. And he was good last year the whole season, but I thought when Sam got hurt, he just kind of ascended, kind of took the lid off the jar a little bit, and just played outstanding football. Played great in the bowl game. When Sam got back, he was still just playing at a high rate. We thought when we recruited him, he had a chance to be an outstanding football player. And I'm not saying he's one of the best in the country, but I'll say he's one of the best in the country. One guy's opinion. He's a really good player and a great teammate. So that's an easy one for me to cherry pick. I think, you look at a guy like Caleb Johnson, our running back, who was just so raw and so young last year. Now with the year experience, I think he'll play better. And, it's the key to our whole football team. Everybody's got to improve, whether they played a lot, or played a little last year. Everybody's got to get better.
Well, that's the one thing that it feels like you guys do as well as anybody in the country, is that development piece of taking a kid from a freshman year who maybe was underappreciated or undervalued coming out of high school, and by the time they leave, they're a seasoned football player, someone who knows how to play the game inside and out. Just tell me about the pride that you have in that aspect of coaching, especially.
I'm a line coach by trade, so the thing I enjoyed was coaching guys, working the one-on-one stuff. And I think that's what football's all about, whether it be on the field, off the field, trying to make guys better people. But on the field, that's the fun part about it, and there's a lot that goes into being a good player. There's strength and conditioning aspect, obviously, and then there's a lot to learn on the field at all positions. It's just technique can make a big difference. And So we try to put our money where our mouth is. We dedicate time to teaching fundamentals. It's important. For us, it's critical. And maybe narrow the gap on some areas where we're a little short on experience or somebody's got a little bit more talent, that type of thing, and try to find that equalizer.
Look, I know you coached basketball early in your career, and you've got
drafted.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Listen, I know that there's maybe the most electric basketball player in the country right now on your campus in Caitlin Clark. So if you were coaching Caitlin Clark, what would your go-to be of, hey, you need to improve on this, or yeah, just keep doing what you're doing there?
My mentor was talking about, my mentor is Joe Moore, best all-time line coach. In my opinion, I'm a little biased. He worked for one individual. He said, this guy would have tried to change Ted Williams' stance. One thing I learned in coaching, if you got a great player, don't mess him up. And so I didn't give Jonathan Ogden a lot of tips when he came to Baltimore. And Caitlin Clark is just such a phenomenal performer and maybe as impressive off the court, just the way she handles circumstances, interviews, those types of things, difficult interviews. But, man, is she good on the court. I can't get over that, and I don't pretend to know anything about basketball, despite my 2 years at Worcester Academy. But I do know this: you don't shoot like that by accident. And then the other thing, I don't know if you can, maybe you develop it or accentuate it, but her vision on the court. And I don't know anything about basketball, but I just know this: if you're her teammate, you better be paying attention, because if you're open, that ball might be right on your face. You better be looking for it, because she's unbelievable.
Truly one of the most fun players to watch in any sport. You were the one who first told me about this, and you're gonna have to remind me which player on your team won it. But
you have good memory,
I appreciate it.
That, yeah.
I appreciate it. But the Solon Beef Day toss. There was a lineman, I want to say, on your team that won it a couple years back. I can't remember if that's true or not. I'd have to go back to my notes. But have you ever competed yourself?
No.
You don't want to do it?
No, absolutely not.
I feel like you could do it.
You have to be big, strong, and athletic, and I'm none of the above.
So 24 seasons.
I don't know about the athletic part, but
no, you had some skill back in the day. Come on now.
I could run a 5 flat 40, first time or 20th time. Never broke it.
No, I don't know. I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit. I'd like to see that one day. Maybe. All right. What if we got like a smaller bit of hay, and we get that, and we just boom.
Yeah, it probably won't work out too well.
All right, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I do find that to be fascinating. That entire thing is awesome.
We've had someone's close to us. We've had Tyler Linderbaum's from there, and it's just it's a fun thing for our guys to get involved in. The linemen really gravitate towards it.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so getting to know you as a coach, this is really more just for the fans watching as we grow the Big Ten audience even further than what it is. Your earliest memory of playing and falling in love with the game of football?
Probably in the backyard. I mean, I liked watching it, certainly, and you go out in the backyard and start throwing the ball around, all that kind of stuff. So when I was a little kid, just kind of gravitated towards that, and also gravitated towards baseball. Those were probably the two sports I enjoyed the most.
What was the moment for you that you realized, hey, you know what, coaching could be for me? I know you mentioned the development and working one-on-one with guys, but was there a part once you finished your playing days where you said, I think I could do this as well?
Yeah, it's really easy for me. My high school coach in 10th grade, I got moved up from, it's a long story, but I was the starting guard on the JV team, right guard, and 4 weeks later, I'm starting fullback on the varsity. It's a long story, number 68, playing fullback. And I'd practice as hard as I could, and I remember, like yesterday, Coach Merritt saying, we've got to give this kid a bulldozer for Christmas or something like that, because I'd, run through somebody, and he liked it apparently. So that just that one compliment, just like, really made me feel special, and I decided at that point I was going to be a teacher and a coach. And you think a lot of things when you're young, but it turns out that's what I wanted to do.
And now here you are. You got 198 wins in your career. I mean, this year it's going to happen. You're going to get to 200. So when you hear 200 wins as a Division I football coach, what does that mean to you?
It probably means that first of all, I've been lucky enough to be in a job in a place for a long time. And then the other thing, it's like anybody has success in anything, especially in football, whether it's the team, whatever. Nothing happens because of individuals. It happens because you're around great people. And in my case, as a head coach, I've worked with such great assistant coaches, and the players have been unbelievable. And felt the same way. I was an assistant in the 80s. I was on a great staff, working for a legendary coach in Hayden Fry. So my life's been pretty good. You got Hayden Fry, Coach Belichick, Coach Marchibroda, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good ring for you.
Yep.
Pretty good, solid group. I know you mentioned the off season and how that can change over the years of your coaching career. What about game day preparation, post-game recovery, all that type of stuff? How's that evolved over the course of your career?
It just made me laugh here because I'm still struggling. How many years have I been doing this? I still
This will be 25.
Struggling. So we shifted our schedule in 2015. Wasn't really pleased with just the general demeanor of our program in 14, so we just went back and really looked at everything and started our week on Monday. Instead of taking Mondays off like most people do or Sundays off, we chose to take Thursdays off. And it's really turned out to be a good thing, except the way I operated back pre-time. Sunday was for going through yesterday's game and every detail. And then Monday morning, I would turn my attention to our next assistant, next opponent, I should say. So long story short, I mean, I can't do that. We're practicing Monday morning, and I've got to be in an offensive meeting at 5:30, 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And I've walked in not prepared enough, and I don't really catch up to the staff till Tuesday. So I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to figure out a way to be better prepared. So there's always a challenge.
Yeah, it's a fluid
Something to
process.
think about. Yep.
I think it's a fluid process. Is there any current NFL player that you watch and say, if I could have that guy on my roster right now, it would just be perfect? I mean, by the way, some of them might have played for you, so.
With all due respect to Cade, I'll take Mahomes if he's available. I don't get to watch a lot of pro football. College coaches don't typically, but I obviously pay attention during the playoffs, and in December you get to watch things. And, those great players you see. I mean, it's cool to, have had a chance to watch Brady the last 20-plus years. What a performer, what a person, what a story. And then, you watch Mahomes now, who gets it on the salary cap. Unbelievable. He just seems so likable and so respectable, the way he plays and the way he is. And then, the courage he showed in that second half of the Super Bowl, it's like, who wouldn't want to play with this guy or for this guy? So great respect for Coach Reed, Andy Reid. And, so I'm happy for those guys. But, you watch, there's so many guys in the pros that are really true pros, and it's hard to pick,
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Yeah.
So we've been asking all the other coaches and some of the players about the toughest student section that they have to deal with, and almost everybody has said Iowa, which, I mean, I'm not shocked about that. When you go to Kinnick, it's legit, and especially we're going to have you guys at night. I think it's probably a whole different beast at night as well. But what do you think it's so special about the Iowa fans and how they come out, how they support, how they cheer, that really does make a difference?
I'll go back to 81, my first game as an assistant. And I'm dating myself now, but, they used to call them bandbox gyms, those little small gyms. Kinnick is that way just by structure. So there's really not much room from the sideline to the wall. And if you're not paying attention on our sideline, especially because we have 100-plus guys dressed, there's no room to get away. So, but to that point, our crowd's right on top of you. Then the north end zone just got a new project completed a couple of years ago. It's made it louder. And then we have good football fans. Like, they understand the game. They cheer for the defense. They know when to get loud, and they've been a really big advantage to us. So it was that way in the 80s, and it's even better now because our stadium's so much better. Night games just take it up 2 more notches.
Similarly, everybody likes to say, that visiting locker room's not very good. You have any messages for the people that like to complain about that?
You can't say it about ours. It's pink. Tribute to Coach Fry. That's his tradition. But
I love it, by the way.
It's a big locker room. I mean, it's probably one of the nicest visitors. I almost feel like we should maybe cut it in half and make it, reciprocate the favor, if you will,
100%.
To some of our.
No, you guys were you were marketing for the Barbie movie. That's all you were doing.
There you go.
You were just
we're ahead of our
helping out.
times.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. No, you have nothing wrong with that. It's funny as you kind of look through all of this. And last year you had, again, such a stingy defense, but everyone knew Riley going in. Everyone knew about those backers going in. But Cooper DeJean comes in, and I mean, I don't know how many pick sixes he ended with the season with, but I know in the games we did, he had like 3. It was crazy. What is so different about him? How's he carried himself? How's he taken another step as a leader? I know he's more of a quiet guy, but what has he done to take another step forward?
Just outsider looking in, or if you just watched him, I'm not sure you'd see any difference. He's the same guy he was 2 years ago. Really a good lesson in college football for a lot of people. People get impatient, but he came in. First of all, his story is the best in that he didn't have an offer. We finally offered after one of our guys watched him play basketball and figured we're missing out. Everybody's missing out on a really good player here, and that turned to be true. But he went through an adjustment period, was doing a good job, and then it was his first year probably somewhere in October, he started gaining traction. By the end of the year, we knew we had a pretty good player. We didn't know how good, but pretty good. Bowl game, yeah. And then last year just kept ascending. And it's not the same as T.J. Hawkinson, but T.J. was a redshirt his first year, played 2 years, and he's the 8th guy in the draft. So not all great players play as freshmen, or not all great players, are notable as young players. And I think Cooper's probably an illustration of that. He's got great confidence, no arrogance at all, but great confidence. And obviously he works hard. He's very competitive. And he's just got a lot of natural gifts that are some things you can't teach, and he's got a lot of those attributes. He could probably play anywhere on offense or defense around the perimeter.
Yeah, 2 things. One, he's got elite hair. I saw him earlier today. I was very impressed by that. Second, he seems like one of those guys that you go to high school with and you're like, how is this guy good at every sport?
Yeah.
How is it that on the basketball court he's dominating? He plays soccer, he'd be really good. He could go play field hockey, I'm sure he'd be good. He's one of those guys, which is always fun to see, and it's good to hear a story like that. Another thing that being at Kinnick for the first time, experiencing the Kinnick wave. For somebody who maybe isn't a huge Big Ten fan yet, is just getting into it, explain the significance behind it and how your players really have responded since you've built that tradition.
I think the single best thing about the wave, it just started so organically. It was a young lady named Krista Young, a single mom of 3 from a little town in Need, Iowa, out in southwest Iowa. Went on social media. I'm not a big fan of social media, but she went on. There were some good things. She went on and said, wouldn't it be great if, because that year was the year the construction of the hospital was completed. So anyway, it evolved into a pretty special thing. It's been really cool. One of the best parts, it's not commercialized yet. Nobody's sponsoring it. It's just pure, and it's a feel-good moment. It's much bigger than a tribute, in my mind, than our hospital. I think it's great that it is our hospital, but in my mind, it's a tribute to all those patients, all those doctors, the nurses, the therapists that work with the kids that are so critical. The family members, there's always a family member involved when a kid is sick. So it's a tribute to, I think, people that do good work all across the country, and it's just cool that we get to host it. But it's a really special thing, and if you're there live, it's pretty moving.
Last real quick ones here. Is there a game that stands out in your head, whether it was a reason because you were coaching something or just being there or playing in it? Like in your whole football career, is there a game you say, that's the game I'll never forget, or that's the game that will stand out for X reason or Y? You've had a lot of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Cherry pick an easy one, 85 when I was an assistant, and us against Michigan. It was just, talk about electricity. It was electric that day, and probably the only game I've been involved with a 1-versus-2 deal. But we've had a lot of really good moments, and I'll just say this. I mean, we've had Big Ten championship moments, major bowl, BCS bowl wins. But maybe as special as any was winning the Alma Bowl, our first bowl trip, to make us 7-5. And I don't think anybody's putting us in the history books as the greatest team in Iowa history, but it was such a significant moment in the climb. And but it didn't start that year. It started the 2 years prior to that. There was a lot of things that had to be done. A lot of guys, and I remember sending bowl watches to our seniors from the year before, just an expression that they wanted them to know they had a big part of that, the climb. So as cool as it was a year later to go undefeated in the Big Ten, that was a pivotal moment for us. And so again, you can go through the whole litany of things. There are a lot of good moments. That's what makes this fun. But it's not. I guess my point is, it's not always that marquee moment, that Super Bowl or BCS win moment. There's a lot of things along the way that make it really gratifying. That to me is the beauty of college football.
So you're the longest tenured coach in all of FBS. 2 things. 1, what do you attribute that longevity to? And 2, when will you know it's time to say, I'm done?
Good questions, both of them. The first one's pretty easy to answer. You have to be in the right place with the right people. And I grew up in Pittsburgh. Steelers have had 3 head coaches since 1969. I work at Iowa now. We've had 2 head coaches in 44 years. And little known fact, our athletic director, Gary Barty, just retired, but it was 1970. We had 3 ADs during that entire period. So you have 2 things that are very unusual. It's a good environment, and then we've had great people to work with. So that's kind of that. And as far as, when it's time, I think you'll know. And I read Chuck Noll was one of my idols growing up. I grew up when the Steelers were hitting it. And I just thought he was such an outstanding coach. And very, very private person. Didn't really like to talk about himself. But when his life story came out, It was a great read, and I remember reading in there. It just happened to him one day or one little period. I think it was in October, but he felt it, and so I don't know because I haven't experienced it yet. But I just when I am not anxious anymore, when I'm not nervous, when I'm not excited, I think that's probably a good signal that it's time for somebody else to do your job. Right now I am. Then the other good thing about being a coach is a lot of times somebody's going to tell you when it's time to leave. You don't always have to ask. So you get that little side benefit, if you will. But no, so far it's been good, and I enjoy it.
It's kind of like choosing the school and choosing a significant other, right?
Exactly.
Everyone says you just know when you know. Last one I have for you, and this was one of the more intriguing things I saw last year when I did your games, was the people wearing shirts that said punting is how we win or something along those lines. Have you ever had a punter like this dude? I mean, this dude is unbelievable.
Yeah, I got to preface it. So I was an assistant for 2 years with Reggie Roby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I still remember what it sounded like when he would kick a ball. We used to practice in Kinnick a lot without fans in the stands. So the echo after it would sound like a gun or a cannon when he would hit the ball. He was just so powerful and such a great guy, but a great punter. But yeah, fast forward, Torrey's, and the coolest part about his story is his first game in 20. We're traveling to Purdue. It's the first time he ever saw a college football game, let alone played in a football game or an American football game. So I'm not saying he's naive because he was 24 at that time, but just naive to the sport. There was an innocence and just a pureness. It was a really cool component to a guy who's a really good player, a great guy. But it's been fun to watch him go through this and just his maturation as a football player. He's certainly a much more precise player than he was then, and but he's just a joy to have on the team. Besides being a really good football player, we all have a great appreciation for what he can do to benefit our team's output.
He scored so many points for you guys last year. That was awesome, man.